Client onboarding for B2B businesses is vital for building trust and preventing future problems. I think we often focus a lot on the sale and then we focus a lot on delivering our wonderful product, but there's a little piece in there that we can take advantage of to keep the energy and communication going and build a lot of incredible client trust. I'm Chris Sapola. I'm a leadership strategist with 20 years of B2B service business ownership, as well as consulting experience. My mission is to help small business owners master delegation and business systems so they can have more time to do some of the things they want. If that's something you're working on, subscribe to this channel or join my free school community, High Return Leadership. Hope to see you there. With that, let's get started. All right, today we're talking about client onboarding, and I'm just compressing client onboarding into the first week. You may have a different type of client onboarding. This is just some ideas that you can implement and some timelines that you can use to really make sure that we're building that client trust in a fast and effective way. If you've watched any of my videos before, particularly the SOP training that is in High Return Leadership, you will know that one of the things I suggest is having a very strong trigger and then a strong endpoint when it comes to the processes that we're working on. Having that parameter really is helpful for identifying when things start and stop. It is easy sometimes to just forget some of these things and put them away, and that's a mistake. So especially for something like client onboarding, because we want to make sure that our contracts are signed and that payments are made before we move forward in the project. I have made this mistake. I'm sure that if you haven't, I'm sure you know people who have made this mistake where those things aren't done and the contract never gets signed, which puts us at a huge liability risk. And also we are then chasing for payment, which is never a place we want to be in. Resentment can build there and trust can be definitely broken. So you want to make sure that these two things are done before you move on with the project and with client onboarding. Once those two things are done, so once your contract is signed, once your payment is taken and made, within one business day, I suggest providing 5 things. First of all, a custom welcome video. Most likely you as a small business owner with a small team were a part of the sales process. So even if you weren't, doing that 1-minute introduction, customized introduction video is a great idea. So you're saying like, hey client, so glad to have you in. Here's what you can expect. Keep it nice and short, 1 minute. Now, I also suggest putting a team member in to doing a short video as well. And so that's maybe a team lead or someone who the client can be communicating with on a more frequent basis. The reason why I suggest this is I've talked to a lot of business owners who say that they kind of feel trapped in the client relationships, and a lot of their time goes to managing the client relationships because that client has been there since the beginning and there had been no real handoff between the client and the business owner and the team. So by starting early to introduce team leads to the client, that means that you will have a much easier time and a much more trust when you do it to hand that client relationship over to that team lead. Now, does that mean that you're never in the client's life ever again? Absolutely not. But for day-to-day communication and project work, it is a great idea to have your team lead managing that, and then escalations can come to you. You can do your check-ins. You can show that, you're paying attention and you know what's going on, but you're not having to manage every single thing coming in. What happens now is your inbox gets lighter, your messaging gets lighter, and that team member can take those things for you. You've also at this point, hopefully, downloaded your standards and your expectations within the process. And then that's nice because the team member can be making decisions on your behalf and then escalating when you need to do that. Another really great piece to give within 24 hours, business hours of getting that payment is an up to the minute review. There's a couple ways you can do this. One is you can, of course, go through your notes and provide a report that way. Another way is to have had recorded your sales conversations with permission, of course, taken those transcripts, anonymized them, and then used AI to summarize everything that came out of those transcripts as it relates to the project. This is great because as you build this process, it doesn't take very long at all. You're still protecting your client's data, but you're also providing this great report that says, I'm hearing you and this is where we're at right now. Another important piece before you send this out is to review. So if you are using AI to create reports like this, do review it, compare it to your notes and your past conversations, and make sure that everything is looking right, that nothing's missing, and nothing, of course, is weird. Another great asset to give to your client at this point is your team info sheet. Obviously, very easy to put together. It might be the same info sheet depending on the size of your team, or you might be putting custom ones together using templated blocks that you can put into the document. The great thing about this is it's building trust again between your client and your team. It's also building trust between you and your team because you're showing off who they are and what they do. So these team intros can be very simple, maybe a photo, title, um, a little bit of their history and their experience and kind of who they are. And I think that that's a nice way for you to say, hey, I'm proud of my team. We're going to do excellent work for you. And it just keeps those relationships nice and open. An internal announcement, depending on your product, is really nice to send to your client. I know for me, I have done this before because in many cases I do work with client teams directly. I want them to know me and I want them to understand what will be happening throughout the project. It's also an opportunity for your client, the business owner, to build relationships with the team, because when the team is apprised of what's happening in the business, that builds a lot of great trust. It shows, that the business owner cares about the team to bring them in, show them what's happening, build some great relationships there. And it also gives you a chance to, like I say, get in those team members' minds and let them know what's happening. Sometimes, depending on the product that you provide, even if you don't work with the team might still have questions about what's going on. And this is a great way to get ahead of some of those questions and just say, hey, this is what we're going to be working on. So watch out for some great things to happen for that. Lastly, a link to book the kickoff workshop. I'll talk more about the word workshop in just a few minutes here, but you do want to send that link so that they can be booking into your to that kickoff workshop with you to make sure that you're getting things set off on the right foot. And the faster, like I say, you can turn this around, the better it is. You're building that trust in that moment of vulnerability when the money has changed hands. You want to make sure that they know that you are on top of it at all times. And these 5 things are very easy to put together. They don't take very much time at all, especially once they're built into a nice repeatable system. Eventually, it'll get to be a few button clicks, a couple minutes in front of the camera, and away you go. And it's going to be really, really quite valuable moving forward. At about the 3 business day mark, this is where we're maybe sending over something like a 30-day roadmap or whatever might work for you. I wouldn't say this is the project plan because you wouldn't want to do that probably until after the kickoff workshop is done. But if you have sold a product that is kind of productized, then it's very easy for you to have a 30-day roadmap and expectations. And, here's what's going to happen now. And here's what's going to happen then. And if it's a nicely designed single pager, it's just kind of one of those things you can look at a glance. That's going to build a lot of trust as well, because it says, hey, I know what I'm doing. I've done this a million times and it's going to be the same for you. So you can expect this great service throughout this time period. If you have a shared online workspace, so something like Dropbox or Google Drive or OneDrive or whatever it might be, this is where you want to make sure you have the instructions for that set up and ready to go. I have had the experience myself of trying to set this up and been delayed, and then it just causes a lot of problems later. Centralizing information in any of your projects is absolutely vital. Gets it out of your inbox, gets it out of your mind, gets it out of your team's messaging, wherever it might be. It becomes centralized, and you want to keep things very organized in that centralized online workspace that is shared with your client. Very you look really on top of it too when you have this ready to go. Again, it builds a lot of that trust as, oh, I know my files are safe, everything is safe, everything's going to be there. You as the service provider are taking a lot of that burden away from the client, which is what we always want to do for our clients. So how are we helping them? And in the end, we're helping us, of course, because centralized information is just going to make the project go that much smoother, saves a lot of time and efficiency on the team and for you as well. If the client has not booked their kickoff workshop call yet, this is a pick up the phone, give them a call and say, hey, notice you haven't booked that workshop yet. Let's get that in the books. Let's get going. If they have booked it, now is a great time to pick up the phone and say, hey, thanks so much for booking this workshop. It's in person, it's virtual, whatever it might be. Just a reminder, I have had people get confused about that before, even if it says right in the meeting invite. That verbal confirmation is really nice. And you can make sure too that anyone from their team who's attending is all accounted for and that the meeting looks good in the calendar. This again is just kind of that extra next level of service, that nice check-in, especially using your voice over using digital communications, and builds a lot of that great trust. About 1 week in, this is a great time to provide some kind of quick win or some kind of like value bomb surprise. You should really be surprising your client with extra value all throughout the project. This is a first time where you're really able to do that bespoke to them, other than the things we've already talked about, of course. What you want them to do at this point is for them to say and keep saying, wow, they really understand my business. Working with them is going to make my life easier. They're listening to me. They hear me. I feel confident that they're going to solve my problem. And some of the examples that you can be giving, especially since you've had some sales calls, you know their problems, you know what you're going to be solving for them over the longer term. You will know what a great value bomb is that you'll be able to give to them. But some examples are, you could hold one thing back from the kind of what we heard report that you sent on day one and actually solve that mini problem right away and say, hey, we heard this, here's a tool, or here's, an artifact, or here's something that's going to help you with that immediately. And maybe that's just fixing one small irritating problem. So for example, a nice easy one is, depending on what your service is, maybe it's a set of email templates. Maybe it's, something like that where they can be using those. Maybe it's some AI prompts. Maybe it's something that is related to your project, but it's just something small but easy, but still impactful that they can be using right away. Maybe a small audit. So if you have had your calls, which of course you would have had by now, maybe like a small piece is audited that you provide them right away just to say, okay, we saw this and here's some thoughts we have around that. Small tool live artifact that uses their business info. So something that you have identified and that you've built them something special that can help with that. Maybe it's a worksheet or an artifact or something. Maybe it's a meeting template. There's 100,000 ideas and you will have the one that's right for you. Experiment with them, see what's working. You won't have any trouble coming up with something like this yourself. Just make it small and easy, just for that really quick win right away. But again, the main point is that they understand that you will help them. They're feeling confident and they're feeling very well taken care for, even within this first week. That is going to create an absolute bomb of trust within your relationship, which I think is going to be really great for you moving forward. If we're talking about the kickoff workshop, so normally I think we have a kickoff meeting. A meeting to me says, I'm going down this checklist and I'm going to make sure to gather all the information. If you were to upgrade these to a kickoff workshop, then it's a lot more interactive. You can still have the structure, but make it like a workshop structure, particularly if there's multiple team members on their side joining as well. At the end of that, you can provide a great takeaway as well, which I think could be really fun. And then what you want to do after that is you want to return that your project plan as quickly as possible. So again, if you can, doing it within a week is advisable. Of course, it depends on the size of the project. So you want to be considering these tips for what will work for you and your business, but you can systematize all of these things and have them happen very quickly, where you take the information and the data that you've gathered and turn it around in a way that is really efficient to be able to get these things back to the client. The goal is really to capitalize on that vulnerable moment after the money is exchanged hands and just really build that trust building process. We're starting to build relationships in this kickoff. We're starting to centralize information in the kickoff as well. We're answering any questions that there might be. We're providing that early value. But more importantly, what we're doing throughout this week and in this kickoff workshop is we're creating champions for you and the services that you provide, because you're already planting seeds that you are absolutely on top of things. You are the top of your game. You're the best at what you do, and you're doing it in a way that is creating some joy and some delight and some surprise as you're going and delivering. So that concludes our first week of client onboarding. If your client onboarding needs help, I do work with a limited number of one-to-one business B2B business owners looking to master their delegation and enhance their systems to gain more time. So if you find that you're overwhelmed and you don't have enough time to do the things you want to do, that you enjoy doing, whether it's within your business or even outside of the business, then let's have a talk. There's a way to get in touch with me in the description below, or you can join my free school community, High Return Leadership, where I provide more value for free, more knowledge sharing like this, along with some tools. And I do open up my calendar every couple of weeks for strategy calls with members as well. You can speak directly with me about your business. I'd love to learn about it and see what's happening in that business right now. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.